everyone, it's Ron for the Kind of Nerdy Podcast. Coming back to you solo this week. Everybody else is out on assignment or something. I was going to talk this week, instead about comic books or movies, talk about the new TV season, specifically new shows that are new this year. Shows like Timeless, Westworld, Designated Survivor, among others, and of course on Netflix we have Luke Cage. So I know Designated Survivor is not exactly a nerdy kind of show, but I do like shows like this. It's a drama. It's based in kind of a reality that could actually happen. Stars Kiefer Sutherland, who is the Secretary for the Housing and Urban Development. He is the designated survivor in that when the president gives a speech to Congress, when he addresses the entire government is gathered, one person in the government is left outside that's in the chain of command in case something happens. And of course, in the pilot episode, something does happen in that terrorists or someone blows up the Capitol building, which kills Congress, the Senate, and the Vice President and the President of the United States. And so the only person left in the cabinet is the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, who is not really a politician. And in the first episode, we have a flashback that he was on his way to getting fired by the President of the United States. So, it actually has a co-star of Kal Penn, who's everybody knows it from Harold and Kumar movies. I really like this show. I'm really big into, well, not necessarily drama, but I am into Sutherland for one thing, and it's kind of a different show. I like shows that are different, and it's different. If you like political drama, or if you just like Kiefer Sutherland or Kal Penn, who actually plays a fairly serious person, and I'm here trying to do a podcast, I'm being clawed by a cat, because apparently they like to interrupt and get involved. I recommend you watch Designated Survivor. The next show I want to talk about is Timeless. Is about it's a time travel show, which is, I love time travel shows. I've started out with a show called Voyagers in the early 80s, which I really liked, about a couple of people, a man and a young boy who traveled through time to fix things that went wrong with time. And then we have Quantum Leap from the 90s, which is a show I dearly love. Timeless is about someone breaks into a facility that has a time machine, and they steal the time machine and go back. Well, they end up recruiting three people: a soldier, a history teacher, and a guy that's a technician for the time machine project. You follow the other time machine back to 1930s New Jersey, where right before the Hindenburg exploded. And so the show follows these three people that are going to go through time to fix time, where time terrorists basically have gone and altered history in a way. So the first episode is really good. These three go back into times, and the kid that's the technician, he's a black kid, so you can imagine going from 2016 to 1930s and being a young black man and having a kind of a culture shock in a way that black people were treated. And he's going to be verbally and almost physically assaulted by police officers from that time because of his quote attitude. But it's a really hilarious thing, the way he puts down this cop. Instead of wishing him dead, he wishes that he lives a long, long life so he could see people like him come into power. When I'm saying people like him, I mean black people. The show, it looks really promising. It's on NBC. So if you like time travel, science fiction, Timeless is a show that I would recommend. Another show I forgot to mention in the intro is MacGyver, the new version of MacGyver, who has one of the co-stars is George Eads, who we know as Nick from the original CSI Las Vegas, and his character on it is really funny. The show follows this young genius agent who is actually a secret agent who can turn anything into a weapon. He prefers not to use guns, and the two, they just have this great chemistry. and they end up using a young girl that's in prison for hacking to as part of their team when uh, the hacker for their team or goes missing. Turns out that she's a bad person. Spoiler alert. But the new MacGyver, I actually like it better than the original, and I love the original from when it was on back in the 80s. Uh, but it's an action show. It's not necessarily a nerd-based show, like I said, but it's a it's a good action show, and it's got a little bit of comedy. It's got action, drama, uh, really good sense of humor. So I would recommend that you watch MacGyver. And I also watched the first two episodes of Westworld, which is on HBO. So not necessarily everyone's going to have HBO, but Westworld is loosely based on a movie from 1973 starring Yul Brynner, where there's a theme park that's set up like the Old West, but except for using actors, they use androids who are basically there to fulfill people's wildest fantasies about living in the Wild West. Well, the first two episodes it also stars Anthony Hopkins, who's the basically the guy that runs the show, is one of the main characters in there. But the show it has potential. I'm not going to be able to watch anymore because I don't have HBO. We had a free HBO weekend, and they showed the first two episodes. But it's a really good show. You know, it's kind of interesting that these androids are starting to short circuit and have memory lapses and things. Something is corrupting them, and they believe that there's something. They think it's just a regular malfunction, but it's obvious that somebody has been messing with the androids and causing this damage. Another person that's in the show is Ed Harris, who's a visitor who keeps saying that he's been coming there for 30 years. So apparently Westworld has been around for a while. But he's got this weird obsession that he's going through, and he's taking some of the androids hostage, and he actually scalped one of them, which is kind of a weird thing. But you don't know whether he's a good guy or a bad guy because he does some evil things, but then he does some kind of good things. So it's really interesting. It's one of those rare things. It's a kind of type of show that I like, where it's a cross genre, where it's Wild West meets futuristic fantasy. So if you have HBO or can find a torrent, I guess, I recommend watching Westworld. And of course, my new favorite show of all time is on Netflix, and that's Luke Cage. Now, I'm not much of a person to do binge watching, but I've basically binge watched the entire season of Luke Cage. Now, it took me on both seasons of Daredevil. It took me at least a couple of months to watch the whole show, whole season, and the same with Jessica Jones. But for me to binge watch, it took me about a week and a half to watch all of Luke Cage, and I think the only reason it took me that long is because I have a short attention span. I also have to work for a living. So I don't know how people can spend 13 hours in front of the TV watching one show, but far be it from me to say anything about that other than Sweet Christmas. So Luke Cage, we know, is based loosely on the comic book Power Man and Iron Fist. Luke Cage is a person who escaped from prison, ends up with super strength and bulletproof skin. It also has Rosario Dawson returning in the same role that she was in Daredevil, and Luke Cage end up being friends. They introduced Misty Knight, who in the comics is half of the team of the Daughters of the Dragon, rather, with Colleen Wing, who was in the trailer for Iron Fist, which I'm hoping maybe we are going to have a Daughters of the Dragon type thing. So, one of the really interesting things, I was so excited because Misty Knight was in a show, which means it's delving farther into the Marvel Universe. But another thing also that really excited me is at the end of the final episode, and I'm not going to do any spoilers, her hair, the way she was made up, was the way she is in the comics with her fro, kind of a fancy fro there. And I really it got me excited, hoping that maybe that we're gonna get her. She's gonna get a bionic arm, and who knows that maybe. Well, she hasn't lost her arm yet. She came close to it, but there's always she was shot in it, so there's a chance that she may lose it um in the next season of Luke Cage or what have you. So I'm really hoping to see the Daughters of the Dragon show up here in future Luke Cage or Marvel series. Okay, so I've only talked for 10.5 minutes. It's a lot harder to make a longer podcast when it's just one person doing it. But I'm paying for the way I say it. I'm paying for web space to host the podcast, and we haven't posted in almost 2 months. So I decided to do a little bit of something, and give you all a little bit of something. So let's talk about some of the new season, some of the shows that are returning this season that we have been big into. I'm talking primarily about DC's Legends of Tomorrow, Arrow, The Flash, and Supergirl, and as Marvel's Agents of Shield. Now, these are all comic book related shows, obviously. So, first of all, I'm going to talk about the Marvel's Agents of Shield. This year it's called Ghost Rider for obvious reasons, because, spoiler alert, it has Ghost Rider in it. And we're not talking about the original Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider, but we're talking about the new Ghost Riders, Robbie Reyes, who was introduced about 3 years ago in the comics. Instead of riding a cycle, he drives a muscle car. I don't think it's really. I don't know how to. I like the fact that they have Ghost Rider. The fact is, I don't really think it's really true to the character, because they have him going after people that have blood on their hands, whether it's innocent blood or good or evil blood, and he went after Daisy, who is no longer after the last season. She left Shield because she went looking for other Inhumans, and I guess she assumed that Ghost Rider was an Inhuman and found out otherwise. So it's really kind of interesting, but I'm kind of thinking that Marvel's Agents of Shield, in my opinion, is losing its appeal to me. I like it, but I don't love it anymore. You know what I mean? It used to be a really good show. There was always lots of surprises. In the first season they introduced Graviton, but they've never used him. So when are we going to bring Graviton in it? It'd be nice if they actually brought in some more Marvel characters. They brought in Sif a couple times last year. Maybe it would be nice if they brought in Nick Fury again, or maybe I don't know, Captain America, Iron Man, Spider-Man even. Shoot, Spider-Man's in the Marvel Universe now. Why not bring in Spider-Man? The next show I want to talk about is The Flash. Now, I was disappointed in the Flashpoint thing because it was only one episode. First episode of the third season. I waited 3 months for the Flashpoint to see what happened, and it was just a big letdown, in my opinion. I don't know what the deal with this, why they didn't spread it out. It would have been nice. I was kind of hoping that it would spread out through their whole universe, that we would see it affect every show, the Legends of Tomorrow and Arrow, and maybe even Supergirl, but it didn't, and it was a really big letdown. I haven't watched the second season yet, the second episode of the third season yet. I'm looking forward to it. Well, I'm going to. Whether I'm looking forward to it or not is another opinion. Segueing into Arrow, the fourth season, or is it the fifth? It's the fifth season, I think. Yeah, it's the fifth season of Arrow now, and it was actually a better season premiere than Flash, in my opinion. And usually it's the other way around. I usually like Flash better than I do Arrow. But they introduced Mad Dog, and we are possibly going to see Mr. Miracle here too pretty soon. And I'm hoping. I think they're going to be bringing in the new Black Canary, the girl that they introduced last year, who took over Laurel's place and was using her sonic scream that had been built for her by Cisco from Flash the previous season before that. Arrow does have some promises. Oliver Queen is now the mayor of Star Cities, so let's see how far that is. They've gotten Laurel and Sarah's father, former officer or Captain Lance, to come to work with them and help them to keep an eye on the city since he was fired from the police department. And he's kind of been a drunk lately since Laurel died and since Sarah has gone traveling through time with the Legends of Tomorrow. Segueing into Legends of Tomorrow. Now I've just started watching the first episode of Legends of Tomorrow. I haven't watched the whole episode yet, but it looks good. They introduced last year, as we knew at the season finale, if you watched it, they introduced Rex Tyler, who turns out to be from the Justice Society of America, Our Man, who takes a pill called Miraclo, which gives him super strength and reflexes for an hour. But if you've seen the trailer for it, I posted it on the group. If you watch it, there's a teaser for a lot of from the members of the Justice Society of America. Now, these aren't the real Golden Age Justice Society of America, because a lot of the characters are more modern, like Stargirl is a more modern version, is a more modern character, and then they have Obsidian, who in the comics is the son of Alan Scott, the original Golden Age Green Lantern. So he's more of a Silver Age character than he is a Golden Age. And I saw, I believe in there, the previews, I seen Vixen, but I'm thinking that she's not a member of the Justice Society. It could be the one that's actually... Oh, actually, now that I think of it, I read somewhere that the Vixen is the Vixen from the past and not the one from the animated series that they have on the CW website. And Vixen is a good character, as a character I like. And then they also had, I believe it looks like Starman. The screenshot's kind of vague, so it's kind of hard to tell. But it does look like it's Starman in there. And then also Dr. Midnight, whose superpower is he can see in the dark, but he can't see during the day. Apparently in World War II, that was a good superpower. He has to wear glasses that allow him to see. It was a weird thing. But anyways, it looks like there's a big roaring monster in the video that you see, who is kind of looks more like Mr. Hyde from the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I believe that is Blockbuster, who is DC's equivalent to the Hulk. And of course, it could be Solomon Grundy for all I know. I do believe that I've seen a teaser somewhere for Solomon Grundy. So I watched also the first episode of the second season of Supergirl, now that it's moved to the CW. And I actually liked it. It was a really good show. It was actually better than the series premiere last year, and I liked that too. The reason I liked it, first of all, and this is a nod out to Terry Ann, is because Superman was in it. And I do like the guy that they have in the show playing Superman. He's a really good. He does a really good job as the bungling Clark Kent, but he even does a better job as Superman. And we see that there's a little bit of friction between him and the Martian Manhunter that we find out later has to do with something that happened between them a few years ago, and why they can't work together, which is kind of different from the DC universe as we know it. So there are quite a bit of changes to the show. They mentioned the President of the United States on there, who is a woman, who is supposed to be played by Linda Carter, who was Wonder Woman in the 1970s on the NBC television show Wonder Woman. So that's I like how they do that. They introduced a new character of Lena Luthor, who is Lex Luthor's sister, and someone is trying to kill her. And it turns out that it's one John Corbin, who we know ends up becoming Metallo, the guy with the kryptonite heart. So that's kind of interesting. Good thing, because I love it because they're introducing more and more DC characters, which is something Marvel's kind of failed to do because they split their ownership of their characters between different studios, with Fox owning the rights to the X-Men and Fantastic Four, and then Sony up until recently owning the rights to Spider-Man. So it's and it's refreshing to have that they can have all of these characters in the same universe. I'm kind of wondering, they're in the season premiere of Supergirl season 2. This These drones are firing, attacking random people throughout National City, and Superman stands between this man and his son as this thing is riddling them with riddling bullets at them, and of course they're bouncing off Superman, and he gives them a wink and flies off, and the father says, "We're moving back to Gotham." So a little bit of a nod at Batman. Now and speaking of Gotham, we have Gotham on Fox, which we're in season 3, and we're getting more of what's going on with the Penguin and Riddler. I don't know about you all, but there's something about the kid that plays Bruce Wayne that just creeps me out. I don't know why it is. That I feel bad that I feel that way, but it's just he's The kid's creepy. He doesn't give me this kid who lost his family vibe. He gives me just this creepiness vibe. I actually like Alfred on there, and I like or Detective Gordon. Well, he's not a detective now because he stepped down. He's no longer a police officer, but I like Gordon on there. And I actually like the guy that plays Penguin, and the guy that plays Riddler. The Riddler's a really good show too, or not show, character on there, and how they developed him. And then we have Jim Gordon's crazy ex, Barbara, who comics her character is actually Batwoman, not Batgirl, but Batwoman. But she's involved with this other woman whose brother had became Azrael, a knight, a vengeful knight, who we know in the 90s, I guess. Well, I don't know if you do. Took over the part of Batman for a while from Bruce Wayne after Bane broke Batman's back. So I'm getting to the point. I may stop watching Gotham. I'm going to give it a few more episodes, but it's one of those shows that I'm kind of losing interest in it. It's like, someone told me a while back, what's a Batman show without Batman? And it's true. We need a full-grown Batman TV show, and I would like to actually see Superman from Supergirl actually spin off into his own show. We haven't had a good Superman series on TV since Lois and Clark left, and I say good loosely. I think the last best animated best Superman show was the actual animated Superman the animated series, which rolled into Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. So let's see what else I want to talk about here. So that's kind of it for the shows that return this year and the new shows. There are some shows that were canceled that I really liked. The show Limitless. I was really getting into that, and I can't believe that they canceled. There's not going to be a second season. It was a spin-off of the movie of the same name, and it was a really good show. Even Bradley Cooper was in it as his same character that he was in the movie, but they kind of just it's one of those shows that got canceled, and I hate that. It's one of the things I hate about TV sometimes. It just seems like the TV shows that you get into are the ones that they end up canceling. And that's not always a thing, but it is one of the, another new show that I want to talk about. It's not another necessarily a nerdy show, but it's something that I've been watching. It's called Bull, and it's got Michael Weatherly, who used to play DiNozzo on NCIS until last season. If you watch NCIS, which I do, I love that show. I know it's not a nerdy type show, but I don't care. It's a show I love. And it has a nerd in it, Timothy McGee, who I really love. And in this season, he actually proposed to his girlfriend, Delilah, which he was going to do it in a nerdy way, but he realized there's no better time like the present. So that is that's a good thing. But the new show with Bull with Michael Weatherly, he's a psychologist who basically helps to pick out juries in criminal cases in favor of the defense. What he does is he goes over each the juries and helps the people decide which would be a good jury that's going to give them a chance to um, get their client exonerated from something that did. And so far, everyone that he's had on here has been innocent of the crime that they're convicted. Um, he's a psychologist, and what he does, he builds this what's called a mirror jury, who has people that are exact same type as the people that are on a jury, and they run scenarios by them that they would do, arguments and stuff in court, and see how they react in order to use them on the real jury. So it is a different kind of show. Like I said, I'm really into shows that aren't just like cookie cutter shows. Not your standard cop show, not your standard drama or what have you. So it's a really good show. And it's really funny because you can't have a show with Michael Weatherly without it being funny. So I guess I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here today. That's all I got to talk for now. I know there's going to be a lot of ums and ums and stuff in here. I'm sorry about that. It's easier to do a podcast with one or more other people than by yourself. But like I said, we haven't put anything out lately, and I wanted to do something, and so this is something that no one else has. We haven't been able to get together because we all have lives and stuff like that, so it's kind of hard. That's one of the things one of the downsides to doing something with other people is that everybody's schedule doesn't coincide with everybody else's. A couple things I want to throw in here before I close. There's some shows on Netflix I want to recommend for some people. They're not necessarily newer shows, but they are on there, and they're really good shows, in my opinion. You don't have to believe me if you don't want to, but you can try. There's a anime on there from when I was a teenager. It's called Robotech, and it's one. People say, well, isn't that kind of a mecha show? Well, it is a mecha. It was the original mech. The Robotech, whereas it involves this giant space cruiser that crashes on Earth in the year 1999, ending the Third World War, and brings the world together because they want to rebuild this ship and find out what it means. And it deals with a young man named Rick Hunter, who's a stunt pilot who ends up being drafted into the military to help to fight off an invasion by this giant aliens called the Zentradi. Well, the Robotech has 3 different versions: the Macross, the new generation, and I forget what the third one is. But it goes through these different generations of the Robotechs and the people dealing with this alien technology on Earth. It's a really good show. Action. It was ahead of its time in the storylines and the drama and stuff like that. It wasn't something that was normally put on show for kids back in the 80s, but it was a really good show. And another show that's I do highly recommend, Luke Cage. If you haven't saw it, it is on Netflix, and also on Netflix is the first season of Limitless, which is if I was going to take drugs, that would be the drug I would take. Also Stranger Things. If you have not watched Stranger Things, you need to watch it. It's only 8 episodes. It has Winona Ryder as the mother of a young boy who goes missing. But this show is like a cross between the Goonies and Poltergeist and all your favorite 80s shows rolled into one. This little girl has superpowers, or they call her 11. It is the most awesome, one of the most awesome and most original shows I have ever seen. So I do highly recommend that. And that's going to be it now. I'm going to go let you guys go. I'm going to go to bed because it's after 2:30 in the morning. I'm laying here in bed talking on my tablet. So I will talk to you all later. I'll put this up later on today on Friday, and maybe I'll get to do another episode this weekend. So you guys take care, and Also, keep an ear out because I'm going to be doing a contest pretty soon. Not on this episode, but I will be putting it on one of the episode after this. So y'all have a good night. May the force be with you and live long and prosper.